I have 2 spreads left of this sketchbook, and I want to take you along with me as I finish the last 2 spreads of this sketchbook, and let's talk about what it means to finish a sketchbook and how it feels and what next. Finishing a sketchbook is kind of scary, it's kind of sad, it's kind of exciting. Let's finish this sketchbook together. It's going to be a quick little video, lovely little sit down. We go to a park, we do some work that is not necessarily good, but that's okay. That's fine. I hope you enjoy. I'll see you later. Also, hello, my name is Sophie McPike. I am an artist based in Victoria in Australia, and I love colours, scribbles, sketchbook. I love sketchbook stuff. I have multiple sketchbook tours already on my channel, which you can look back at if you like, and other sketchbook related videos. Before we talk about how it feels to finish a sketchbook and the emptiness that leaves behind in our souls, let me talk about what I have done here. So my last 2 spreads, I have splashed and swished and swashed and slopped on some gouache, some acrylic gouache from the Holbein brand. I really like to do this in my sketchbook. I've talked about it before, but basically it's just a less intimidating way to approach a sketchbook page for me. Sometimes I get intimidated by a white piece of paper, so I just like to throw on some color, because if the drawing is not my favorite, at least there is nice colors on the page below it, so it kind of distracts myself from the drawing that might not be the best, or the painting that might not be the best on top of the colors. So that's sort of like a very vague, brief description of why I do the pre-blobbing of the pages. And you can see that I'm using watercolor here on top of the acrylic gouache in my sketchbook. It doesn't really like layering on top of gouache, I have realized, but you know, that's the joy of sketchbooks. You can try these weird combinations and see what happens, and now I know that gouache and watercolors don't really necessarily like each other, but that's okay. I kind of just worked with it. I worked with the way it looked weird and the way it separated and this and that, but you know, whatever. That's the joy of sketchbooks for me. And also earlier on I mentioned that I didn't necessarily like the artwork that I made for these last couple of spreads, and that's just because I wasn't really in the mood. I haven't been in the mood to draw or paint for a while, and I don't know if that's because I am afraid of finishing my sketchbook and moving on to something new, because you know, after a while, your sketchbook becomes your best friend, your comfort, your little scribble palace. I don't know. So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I just deep down was like, oh no, I have to finish this sketch. I have to finish this sketchbook and move on to a new one, a stranger, more or less. So I'm kind of forcing myself to not be in the mood to paint just to spite, you know, this sketchbook, the new sketchbook. But yeah, so the materials I use over the next couple of days, I do these 2 spreads on watercolor, Prismacolor pencils. I use some Holbein acrylic gouache, which is what I use to pre-blob the page, but also you'll see me using them on another spread. And I also use some Caran d'Ache Neocolor pastels, Neocolor 2 pastels. Oh, okay. Finishing a sketchbook. I don't know. Who here loves finishing a sketchbook versus who here never finishes sketchbooks? I'm such a mixture of both of the feelings. I love the satisfaction of a full, chunky, filled, crispy paged, crunchy sketchbook. Nothing is better than a big old chunky crunchy sketchbook. I love it. I love having a big shelf full of big, chunky, crunchy sketchbooks. It's just the best. It's very great. That's all. Very great. It feels so good. And to know that I filled 120 or 80 or however many pages are in a sketchbook, the thought that I filled that many with all these silly little drawings and paintings just makes me so proud of myself. So for that reason, I love it. I love it. Also, because it's kind of like a journal. It's my brain splats, my thought farts going onto a piece of paper, and me making sense of my thoughts and feelings and emotions, and like visually what I want to do and where I want to go, and playing with different mediums. Like, it is a fun place for me most of the time, my sketchbooks. Yeah, that's why I love them. That's why I love them, and why I love finishing sketchbooks, because it's just all of it in one big happy place. And it's just, yeah, anyway, feels great. Feels really great. But on the other hand, finishing it means that this best friend that you've had for, in this case, 7 months solid, it's gone. It's done. It's put away. It's folded up and put on the shelf to maybe not be looked at again for a couple of years or a few months or whatever, however long. Yeah, and it's kind of sad. It's the loss of a comfort zone place to be. And starting a new sketchbook is daunting in that respect. It's like someone I don't know yet. It's a place that I don't feel comfortable yet. It's, what if I make a really ugly drawing on the first page and then I'm stuck with this book with this really ugly drawing that feels like it sets the tone for the rest of the book. Yeah, it's hard to get to the end of a sketchbook with those thoughts in mind. I'm trying so hard. Every time I start a new sketchbook, I'm trying so hard to go into it with like even more looseness and even more play and silliness than I had the previous sketchbook. And I believe that I'm doing that to an extent. I mean, there's no way you can stay the same after experiencing life, after 7 or 8 months of being in one sketchbook. You know, like, you change, you evolve, your opinions on things evolve, your style, what you're interested, your skill level evolves over that time, what you're looking at changes. There's no way that you can stay the same. So it's nice to look back on your sketchbook and see where your brain has been wandering around, what kind of fields and clouds it's been wandering around in. And yeah, starting a new sketchbook, it's the excitement of that, like, oh, where are we going to go? What adventures are we going to go on in this new sketchbook? Starting it all over again. I don't know about you, but once I finish a sketchbook, I kind of don't look at it again for a very long time. And that's not because I don't want to. It's just I forget about it. I'm done with it, and then on we go to new horizons, sort of thing. But whenever I do go back and look through my old sketchbooks, I just get such a thrill. I love looking back at my old sketchbook. And sometimes when I am in a rut and I don't know what to draw and I've got no ideas, I go back on my old sketchbooks and I pick up some old ideas that I once had that are ready to be made into something, or are ready to be redrawn in my sketchbook in different ways, or maybe just in exactly the same way as I had in the other sketchbook. You know, maybe I just feel like drawing without thinking about anything, and so I'll just redraw some stuff that I had in my old sketchbook. I don't do that enough, but it's a nice way to kind of warm up, I guess, if you want to. If you want to draw but don't know what to draw, you can just redraw what you have already drawn. So, you know, even though I don't look at my older sketchbooks very often, it is nice to know that I can revisit this old friend from time to time. I like that. You can see here in this clip I am posing for a self-portrait. I've been doing a self-portrait maybe once a month or a couple of times a month since starting this sketchbook. And you'll see in the sketchbook tour how many self-portraits I have managed to do in this sketchbook, but I thought it would be a nice way to finish up the sketchbook by doing a little self-portrait as a way of documenting, one, my face, the way I look, the length of my hair, and two, just like the feelings that I was feeling and what I was thinking about and how I am approaching self-portraits and how I feel about myself. Yeah. Okay, for me, sketchbooks are my safe place. They're my little scribble sanctuary, as I say in all my sketchbook videos, my scribble sanctuary. And I love my sketchbook so much. There are days that I don't draw. Sometimes I don't draw in it for like days on end. Sometimes it's a couple of weeks on end. While I was in use of this sketchbook, I went away to Chile and I didn't bring it with me, so I was without it for a whole month and I missed it so much. Like I bring it with me everywhere. I love it. I love just, I might not even use it or look at it when I go out places, but just to know it's there is it's like a blankie, it's my little comfort thing. It's a place where I go to rejuvenate, to reconnect with what I love the most, just playing with color, playing with scribbles, playing with texture. This is the first sketchbook I've used with these dimensions, with these square pages. I usually go for a nice little A5 size sketchbook, and all my sketchbooks over the last few years have been A5 sized. There are a couple of A4 sized ones that I used back when I studied animation, back when I did uni, which was 2016, 15, 14 or something like that. But I really love A5 size because they're so portable. I can fit them in my handbag easily. This square one, it wasn't too bad, but I definitely didn't fit it in bags as easily as I had in the past, and I struggled with the orientation in the beginning. It just felt so big. You can see as the sketchbook goes on that I get more comfortable with the size and I draw bigger because I have the space to fill and I get more confident. But I do miss my small little intricate sketchbooks, so I'm going to go back to a smaller sketchbook, I reckon, next time, after this one. Well, now. But I'll talk more about that, I guess, in the sketchbook tour coming up next week. So the reason I wanted to finish this sketchbook in 2 days, 2 spreads in 2 days, is I wanted it done. Like I mean, I do love this. I did love working this sketchbook, but I also didn't at the same time. Like the paper texture wasn't my favorite. It was too soft, so my Prismacolor pencils weren't very happy on it, and it just, it got too fluffy. And in using inks and that sort of thing, it just wasn't my favorite. It was good with acrylic gouache, and it's good with these Caran d'Ache pastels, and it was good with like brush pens and that sort of thing, but it just, it hasn't been the most fun sketchbook to work in, so I'm looking forward to getting it done. So I wanted to kind of get these last 2 spreads done ASAP in the last 2 days so I can get excited and move on to my new sketchbook, which I still haven't chosen which one I'm going to be using. I might think about that tomorrow, we'll see. Leave that for tomorrow. That's a future Sophie decision to make. Hello. something on the lens. It's probably paint. On my way to spend a couple hours at a little park, short-ish drive away from my place, and I'm going to do some plein air painting. Not really in the mood to paint, to make art. I had a bad night's sleep last night, and anyway, we'll see. I'm just going to go into it and just be really loose and playful and silly, and if I have a bad art day, as in I have a bad time making the art, then that's fine. That's just what happens. That's just life. So we're just going to go see what happens. I'm looking forward to spending some time in nature. It's winter, but it's a sunny day. It's a lovely day. It's chilly, but it's nice. So I'm looking forward to just, even if I don't get much painting done, or if I don't like what I'm painting, then at least I've spent a nice afternoon in nature. So yeah. It's very hard choosing your next sketchbook. Like, so many possibilities. I don't know about you, but I've got this really big cane basket. It's massive. It's like you take it to the supermarket, or you take it to the market for all your fresh produce. Anyway, it's full of lots of little blank sketchbooks, and I'm very excited to dive into it and have a look. So my criteria is not white paper, not spiral bound sketchbook, and not like amazing super duper beautiful quality paper either. I like it. So those were my no's. So now is my criteria for what I do want in a sketchbook. I want slightly off-white paper, if not cream paper. I want it to be stitch bound. I'm not sure what it's called, but I want it to not have spirals. So I want it to be flat lay, stitch bound, whatever it's called, because I like to draw across pages. And I like hardcover, ideally. I mean, soft cover is fine too, but hardcover is my favorite just because it sits nicer. It's easier to draw, especially if you're out and about. If you've got floppy pages all over the place, it's harder sometimes to just like sit there and draw without trying to also control the way the pages are laying. And I like it when my pages aren't that amazing quality, but it can't be soft paper, which my pencils don't like laying on. So I don't mind if the paper is thin, but I'd rather it be thin than like soft fluffy paper, if that makes any sense to you at all. Makes sense to me. So this sketchbook that I have here, it wasn't the most expensive sketchbook, but also the paper is too fluffy for me. And I think the pages are white, which I don't know. All the things were against me in this sketchbook. You know, you make it work. You make it work for yourself, but I didn't have the best time. When I was in Malaysia a few years ago, like 5 years ago, I bought all these really, really cheap sketchbooks, which were probably $2 Australian per sketchbook, and I've used them all up now. But they were my favorite. It was just really soft, really thin, smooth, swoopy pages that my pens loved, my pencils loved. I don't think I did much ink or painting in them, but I'm sure they would have loved each other too. I think about them all the time. I really need to go back to Malaysia, or at least figure out what they are to see if I can buy them online. But I think they were just little handmade books. I don't know. Probably didn't have a brand. So my favorite sketchbooks over the last couple of years have been from a store here in Melbourne in Fitzroy called Zeta Florence. And it's just their like journal / notebook kind of. I think they make it themselves as well. Super plain, super basic, very cheap, like $20, and I love them so much. So I actually went there the other day and I bought a bunch. I bought 2 of those, one tiny one and one A6 and one A5. and a couple other brands as well. So I'm kind of torn if I should go back to my original faves or try something new again. This sketchbook in this video was me trying something new, and although I sort of overcame my dislike for it, I don't know what I'm trying to say. Maybe I should go back to my good old comfy one, and then after it try something new again, like take it in turns. Good old guy, then new guy, then good old guy, then new guy. I don't know, what do you reckon? Yeah, usually I change sketchbook all the time, but just the last few years I've stuck with this same Zeta Florence notebook, and I just can't get away from it. It's very good to me. It's a very nice person. Time to go to another location. See what else is out there. Even though I'm scared to start a new sketchbook, I'm really excited to see what's going to happen in it, what kind of stories are going to be told, what life is going to happen, and how it's going to be there for me, how it's going to be part of my life, how it's going to be my journal. I'm looking forward to all that kind of stuff with my sketchbook, with my new sketchbook. I feel like when I start a new sketchbook, I take my old one with me sometimes, like just to like overlap, to feel like I've got a backlog of moral support of my paintings and drawings. And then as I start to like build up my new sketchbook a little bit, I can start to leave my older sketchbook at home and then never look at it again for a couple of years. So yeah, I think it's the having the drawings with me, which makes me feel good, which makes me feel comfortable. So when you start a new sketchbook, it's like, oh, I don't have any of that with me anymore. So that's why I like to have my older my just finished sketchbook with me as well as I transition. It's a transitional period of our lives. We have to transition from one sketchbook to another, one comfort to someone that we don't know yet, that we need to work on and build a relationship with. So holding on to my old sketchbook, which I'm so comfortable in, then getting to know my new sketchbook, which I don't know yet. I think that's my main thing about starting new sketchbook. That's the fear for me. It's not necessarily the blank white pages. It's the lack of life experience in that sketchbook. If I could just live my life in my sketchbook, I would be so happy. I mean, I love making final pieces. I love doing paintings on stuff that's not in my sketchbook. I do love it, but making stuff inside my sketchbook is just my favorite. It's my favorite, and I love it. I really want, intention for the new sketchbook. I really want to spend even more time in my sketchbook than I do already. Like I had this one from October and now it's June. I want to be more involved in sketchbook stuff. I want to I don't know. I did a few like really nice finished artwork kind of spreads in this sketchbook, which I've never really done or haven't really done for a long time, since probably back uni days or before uni days, which is like almost 10 years ago. So I did a few finished artwork pieces in the sketchbook, and I want to kind of move back away from that because I want to just play. I don't know. I mean, there's nothing wrong with making finished artworks, obviously, in sketchbooks. You can do whatever the heck you want with your sketchbook, but I just want to use it as a way to be super duper messy and playful, and I feel like when I start making finished artworks in my sketchbook, that's when I start getting too particular with it and worried that it doesn't look very pretty and that sort of thing. And that's one thing that I really don't want to have to worry about in my sketchbooks. For me, it's just, like I said, it's my scribble sanctuary. I spent a couple of years unlearning making beautiful finished artworks in my sketchbook and just purely playing and being silly. So it's creeped back in a little bit and I want to get away from that again. But also, I don't care. If I end up making finished artworks in my sketchbook, who cares? Like, it's nice. It's still fine. But I guess I'm just saying I want to use it as a way of play only. This is a no judgment zone, these sketchbooks for me. No judgment, no high pressure, just no pressure. Things can be ugly and they're okay. They're allowed to be ugly. That's the vibe I'm going for. That's the intention I'm going for in my new sketchbook. Ugly is okay. Stay playful and scribbly. Get messy with color and texture. And yeah, I think that's pretty much my intention with my new sketchbook. And draw more, paint more, because I think by being more playful and scribbly and messy, it means that I will paint and draw more, because I will be less precious about making a beautiful spread for Instagram or whatever, you know? Like I want to use it. I want to use my sketchbook. I'm going to really thrash it, you know? Yeah, so there we go. That's my little blether. I hope you got something out of that. Please let me know any of your sketchbook tips and tricks. We all love to hear it. We all love hearing about sketchbook stuff. Yeah. So there we go. A finished sketchbook. 8 months of work, minus 1 month, which I didn't use it when I was in Chile for the month. So 7 months of work in this one sketchbook. There you go. We will be doing a sketchbook tour next week, so stay tuned for a big juicy sketchbook tour where you get to see everything and not just be teased by glimpses. Sorry about that. You're gonna have to wait till next week. So stay tuned for that. Thanks for coming along on this little end of sketchbook journey and chat. That's it. A great big page crunchy warm feeling of love to my patrons. You are the best and I adore you and thank you. I love you. Great. All right. Toodaloo. See you next week. Thanks for being here. I adore you. Like, subscribe, all the fun things, and yeah, bye.